Hello, I'm State Senator Pamela Althoff, and I'd like to welcome you to my Living History video series. One of my resolutions in 2016 was to take the opportunity to visit one historic site every month. I want to show you the importance to historic preservation that these sites have, as well as the economic impact that tourism has on the state of Illinois. Thank you for joining me in the second installment of our Living History series. With me today again is Justin Blanford. He is the superintendent of all the historic sites at Springfield. And today we are visiting the old state capitol, which is the site of the very famous Lincoln speech, House Divided.
Welcome, Senator. We're glad to have you here. Over 100,000 people visit the old state capitol each year, so we're delighted to share it with you and your guests today.
So where's our first stop today, Justin?
Well, Senator, since you mentioned the House Divided speech, let's go right to the room where Lincoln presented that speech. That was Representative Hall, the very room where he served as a legislator in the winter of 1840-41, and then he returned many years later in 1858 to run for the Senate against Stephen Douglas. So let's go take a look.
Absolutely. So Justin, we are here now in the House of Representatives. There's a couple of artifacts that are extraordinarily unique and important to this room, one directly behind us.
This portrait of George Washington is an original artifact to the room and was one of the earliest artifacts to be brought into the building. This was painted by an artist from Central Illinois who traveled to Washington City, what we now call Washington, D.C., and he copied a portrait of Washington that still hangs in Congress today. So this would have been brought here for the first legislative session that would have sat in this room, and that was Lincoln's last legislative session during the winter of 1840. So Lincoln would have looked up and seen the same portrait that we're enjoying here today. Senator, this is a real important artifact that we're delighted to share with you and your guests today. This is Lincoln's legislative desk from the winter of 1840. His last session as a state legislator was in this room, and we know that this is the desk that he sat at. The desk was later sold after the state was recovering from a financial panic in 1837. They began replacing furniture, and a local family sent a purchaser to the auction intending to buy a different desk, but actually purchased the desk that Lincoln had used as a state legislator. They kept it in their possession until 1992 and then donated it back to the state of Illinois so that it could be returned and enjoyed by our residents and guests in the room where Lincoln worked.
How fascinating. And you did point out to me here in the drawer that that affidavit is on display. Talk to me a little bit about this artifact as well.
Well, it's really enjoyable for us to talk about the way things changed in the State House. And I'm sure it is the case for you. You're always seeing new things while many things stay the same. So here we have one of the original inkwells. And this is really special because it shows where we're at in the pre-industrial age of Illinois. This is a wooden inkwell. So this is not a mass-produced item, but it would have been a very important item. And it connects so well to the significance of our language and the words that we use and the words legislators use as we're trying to hammer out every day what it means to be free. And so this is a container that they would have drawn their ink from as they were doing the work of the people in Illinois State House during the middle of the 19th century.
So our next stop is the governor's office, and this is relatively important from Lincoln's perspective because
this was his campaign headquarters when he ran for president in 1860.
So we are now in the reception room, which is where the visitors would wait before they actually went into the governor's office. But this also served as Lincoln's campaign headquarters.
That's correct. His managers wanted a nice place where he could greet guests, host meetings, and receive the public. They would actually put ads in the paper letting people know what hours anyone could come in and meet with Lincoln in this room.
Okay, let's put a little bit of a local perspective on this. Behind me is a map, but you also indicated that it was somewhat of an encyclopedia-like document, and I understand there's some census information on this?
This is really an amazing artifact. It's an original map to 1860. So right, there's numerous charts with different kinds of data contained in them, spaced all throughout the map. And then, as you mentioned, census data running along the bottom. So we can go over here to some of the counties that you represent and find out the census in 1860. So here we have Lake County, for example, at a little over 18,000. Really incredible stuff. And your other county of McHenry, is that right?
Yes.
Of 22,000 people. A little more than that today, I would think.
Just a little bit, exactly backwards. Now McHenry has 300,000 people and Lake County has close to 1 million. Thank you, Justin. We saw some fascinating artifacts in the governor's office, and we are now on to our next stop, which is...
We're going to take a look at the flag of the Illinois 95th Volunteer Regiment. Members of your community helped preserve this artifact that's on display in the capital city.
And actually many residents from our area served in the 95th.
They did. They marched under this flag during the Civil War, and it's something your community should still be proud of today.
Okay, Justin, so tell me, this is a preserved flag from Illinois' 95th Infantry that actually had men serving from McHenry and Boone County.
That's correct. And this flag was restored by residents in your area. The Boone County Historical Society and the McHenry Civil War Roundtable raised the funds so that this artifact from the Civil War could be restored. So your residents and your communities throughout your district should be very, very pleased that this important Civil War flag is on display in the capital city. 2 individuals demonstrated resistance and actually broke the law to fight for freedom under this flag. One was a woman and one was an African American. So it's an amazing artifact that tells many stories about the struggle for freedom's meaning during the Civil War.
Thank you. Thank you so very, very much.
It's our pleasure. We welcome your residents and constituents to come down and enjoy all of our historic sites.
And the flag is on the 2nd floor in the rotunda.
Yes, it is.
So we've come to the end of today's tour of the old state capitol, and we're concluding here in the Senate chambers, which is a little appropriate seeing as how that's where I serve the state of Illinois. If you'd like more information on the old state capitol or even on the Dana Thomas House, which you saw last month, please go to illinoishistory.gov. You can find all kinds of information, but even more importantly, it would certainly be better if you came to Springfield and did these visits on your own so you could see the complete artifacts that are available and are at your disposal. Next month we are going to Pullman, so we'll be in the city of Chicago, very historic. I have a personal connection, and hopefully we'll see you next month.